Keri Russell and Rufus Sewell are out to either save the world or bring about its destruction in the new Netflix political drama, The Diplomat. Now, if you watch my channel regularly, you know how much of a massive fan I am of American content. So, how was this one? In the midst of an international crisis, a career diplomat lands in a high-profile job she's unsuited for, with tectonic implications for her marriage and her political future. This is an 8-episode series with each of them coming in at 50 minutes, so it is going to take a chunk of your day to binge. Although, you know what? Totally worth it. Now, I'm normally pretty down on American shows, as they're typically written more simply with very obvious arcs. This utilizes fast dialogue and quick wit to keep the pace of the show moving with the urgency that is demanded by the story. Keri Russell plays a diplomat who is supposed to go and be the ambassador in Afghanistan, and right before she's set to leave, she's assigned to be the U.S. ambassador to Great Britain to help navigate a brewing crisis after a British vessel is attacked by this unknown force. Now, Russell plays Kate Weiler, and Rufus Sewell plays Hal Weiler, her rock star ambassador husband, who knows pretty much everybody, and he's also incredibly influential. Now, Russell is awesome as Kate. She's no nonsense, and every aspect of the performance, it just emits this. Kate doesn't want to be in England. She wants to be in Kabul. But she's summoned at the last minute to a post she doesn't want, and then thrust into an environment that also doesn't really want her. She's unkempt through most of the show, with her hair just always flying in her face and in desperate need of a brushing. And she also hates wearing dresses, comes across as demanding, and can be forced to be reckoned with. But that's what makes her not only an amazing ambassador, but also somebody who feels very real given the circumstances that she's thrust into. She's decisive, highly intelligent, very wise, and knows how to properly negotiate. And then when you throw in the complication of her husband's political sway, she also has to navigate that. Especially because even though Hal is well known and he's regarded as an expert, he's also incredibly arrogant, and he's pissed off most other countries at some point or another. The cast in this is simply exceptional. They work off each other in ways that just keep the dialogue flowing and the emotional investment high. And so many of the relationships are complex and complicated, and thanks to the performances, the conflict and the turmoil that can be stirred up relationally makes for some captivating watching. Now, sometimes the dialogue feels like it's written by David Mamet or Aaron Sorkin, with rapid-fire interactions that are also written like real people speak, rather than the oversimplified and unnatural verbiage that a lot of shows employ. The characters, they don't always name the thing that they're speaking about because there are the visual and the context clues, so the writing saves words and syllables to create a driving cadence. The drama for the show is also held at a very high level, thanks to all the political machinations that are in play. There's a lot of intrigue, scheming, backstabbing, even some cloak and dagger, and all of that works together to build a story that's chasing a mystery and manages to keep the narrative gripping, even though the mystery angle isn't always at the forefront. I'm not talking about it like a murder mystery. Because of the attack that happens, the perpetrators are unknown, creating a lot of political tensions and a race to figure out who was responsible before the leading world powers just pop off prematurely. Now, outside of the two leads, there's an excellent supporting cast that features David Gyasi, Rory Kinnear, Ato Essandoh, Ali An, Tania Miller, Michael McKean, and even Miguel Sandoval. Each has their own nuances and frustrations that help to make the dynamics explosive. I love how the relationships can be strained and seemingly get their breaking point in 1 minute, and then in the next, after a successful negotiation, everybody can smile and celebrate as friends, only then to have a character muck it up with some other political maneuver. And even though there are a lot of situations that arise, then are made worse, and then somewhat resolved, I wouldn't classify this as rinse and repeat. I mean, not once through this season did I feel like the show was becoming repetitious. There are elements where the characters engage in repetitious behaviors, but that's how they're written, just in order to create dramatic frustration. And the show is very successful at creating that. Now, I was absolutely sucked into every moment of the story. Each time I thought I was figuring out where things were headed, a new curveball would arrive and throw the story into planned chaos. Now, I also appreciate that even though the series maintains a pretty high level of tension and urgency, there are some down moments that allow the story to just breathe. I love that in these quieter moments, we get small and nuanced insights into the characters. We're allowed through their armor to hear candid conversations that showcase vulnerabilities and fears, despite the tough and confident facade that almost all of them employ through the majority of their presence. Now, I couldn't believe how sucked into the show I was getting. I mean, I couldn't hit the next episode button fast enough. But as the series was getting towards the final episode, I was beginning to have a bit of dread, or maybe even sadness. And it's not because of the content of the show, but because I knew it was coming to a close. Now, I also know that a lot of us are a bit hesitant to hop onto new Netflix series because the future is always uncertain. Good gravy, though, this one is fun and it's engaging. Now, probably the biggest downside for me is that when we reach the end of the final episode, there's a huge cliffhanger. And if the show isn't renewed, there has been a large time investment without the payoff of a resolution. And I think in today's streaming climate, this is a risky proposition. It's asking audiences to engage and invest their time into a show, especially the one that's going to take the better part of a day to binge, to then not wrap up the storyline just in case it's not renewed. Now, not everything needs to be answered, but there are ways to effectively provide a satisfying conclusion and still have the opportunity for a continuation. So fingers crossed that a season 2 will be greenlit very soon, because I really need more of this show. So overall, The Diplomat delivers high-intensity political intrigue led by a spectacular performance from Keri Russell. Quick-witted and intelligent dialogue help to propel the story with an urgency in concert with the tense narrative. The supporting cast also shines, building characters who captivate with their smarts, flaws, and sometimes snark. The show works on so many levels, so here's hoping that it's renewed for season 2. There's sex, nudity, a ton of profanity, and some violence. I give season 1 of The Diplomat 4.5 out of 5 couches. So are there any political shows that you love to watch? Let me know about them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.